even if you're an elite athlete versus an amateur weekend warrior, those injuries are just as devastating. Rehab is hard work in a different sense because it's incredibly boring. And I just kept on, reciting, opportunity often comes knocking on the door disguised as a pair of overalls and is called hard work, right? I mean, I don't know the percentage or number down to a T, but I would say way more than 50% of runners don't do strength training, right?
You love a weight vest.
Love a weight vest. I still wanted to run, and I dosed up on meds, everything. This was in Chamonix.
That's naughty.
Yeah.
Run sick. That's
Yeah.
not good.
Not good at all. Don't ever do that. So when I saw that needle, I was like, hey.
You were awake.
Yeah, I was awake
That's
through the
not
whole
fun.
process. Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond Physical, where we talk about the mental, emotional, social, and at times spiritual benefits of exercise. We believe that exercise is more than movement, and this podcast is our attempt at sharing that message with the world by sharing our own as well as our guests' experiences and knowledge. If you enjoy it, we ask that you please spread the message by leaving a rating and review, or even better, by sharing with a friend.
For those who don't know, Brendan is my coach. I'm going to give a little bit of background, but you must just jump in where I miss or overstate or whatever. But elite pro trail runner.
So I'd say more semi-pro.
Okay, semi-pro now.
I don't run for money.
Okay, you don't run for money, but your trail running is taken care of, so that's very nice. I actually first came across you looking at how you podiumed at UTD in like 2021.
I think that was 21, 22. I think it was 22 when
22.
Yeah,
You came third, I think. You ran like 12:40 or something.
It was
stupid.
It
like
was
that.
it was the 100K UTD. Cody Reed was still running, and I think at Maya, and I think actually it was 11 hours 40 or something.
Violent.
Yeah.
It's a brutal effort. Yeah. Anyway, savage trail runner, amazing coach. Couldn't recommend you enough to. I'm like your silent sales rep, just operating, because I'm like, guys, please, Brendan will solve your problems, get you to where you want to be.
Thank you.
Great coach-athlete relationship that has continued to grow and develop over the last 3 years, I think. Sports scientist by trade. You still work at CISA, didn't you?
No, I wasn't at CISA. So I did my studies at Stellenbosch University, just down the whole sports science avenue. I think what's quite interesting is that a lot of guys that study sports science or even personal training, a lot of them actually end up not going down that route because it's quite a tough industry to crack from a perspective of, look, you can either go into the analysis side of sports science where you work with sports teams, maybe schools, things like that. But to actually make it your full vocation, you kind of have to be an entrepreneur, much like yourself, You got to do the marketing, you got to do all the coaching, you got to develop your brand. That's why, I would, if I had to give it a number, I'd probably say about 70% of guys that study sports science actually end up in completely different fields. So that's it. Well, at least that was my experience, chatting to guys.
But the fact that there's obviously a practitioner side to it as well is super helpful. And you there was a period where you weren't running as much. You had a few frustrating niggles and injuries. Can you talk me through that process, how that was mentally, and what brought you back to now really wanting to give an event horns? Because I think you're going to give UTCT a proper go, right? That's
absolutely. Being injured sucks for anyone. Doesn't matter what sport you do. I think the biggest part or the biggest lesson I learned from being injured is, first of all, taking your ego out of the way. And second of all, also learning to not necessarily attach your identity to your sport. And also learning that I am not defined by my running. I'm not defined by my achievements. And that running is merely a vehicle for me, or at least of expression, right? But the injury process itself, it is tough. It's like going through a breakup. If I had to give it an emotional state. So I've had two major injuries. The first one, I tore my meniscus.
How did you do that?
I personally think I did it in the gym. I felt something go off in my knee when I did a back squat that was just far too deep and too heavy. Initially, because the meniscus doesn't necessarily receive a lot of blood flow, there's not much pain as such, even in an acute fashion. So I thought nothing of it. I thought maybe I just had some ITB, you know, because it can almost come masked as ITB because I had a meniscal cyst develop on the side of my knee. There was always pain on sort of the lateral side of my knee, so I thought, I got ITB. Anyway, did some tests, saw various amounts of doctors, and then eventually decided to go see Achilles' knee doctor, who's Dr. Van der Merwe at CISA. And I went for a scan. He said, "There it is. You got a torn meniscus." So the initial first thought is, I'm so fit. My running's gone." And he actually said to me, he said, "You got two options." He said, "We can go in and remove the meniscus, but then you've got, maybe 2 years of running competitively. Or we go in and repair it. The recovery is a little bit longer, but you can run, or your running career will be prolonged." So naturally, obviously, I wanted to run more. We went down the other route, but surprisingly, my recovery was super fast. Being in the field of sports science and with injury rehabilitation being one of my fortes, I went down a rabbit hole. I didn't miss a single second of rehab. Made sure that it was progressive, which I'm sure we'll chat about later in terms of what that means. But yeah, covered all bases, and miraculously ran Ultra Trail Cape Town 65K, which when it was still around, myself, Cody Reed, and ended up running the fastest time ever by a South African.
Wow.
So yeah, that was sort of my breakthrough race, I guess, and then was recruited onto the ASICS Global Trail Running team, which was cool. But yeah, I won't get into too much of that. And then the most recent injury has been a really bad bout of Achilles tendinopathy, which I think had a lot to do with stress and how that presented itself in my body. A lot that I've learned is that, our bodies don't necessarily know weight moved or lifted, kilometers run, vertical meters gained. It knows stress. And when we push the boundaries of stress past the ability to recover from that stress, something's going to give. And I developed Achilles tendinopathy, where there was about 11 millimeters thickening of the tendon.
Sheepers, that's a lot. Is that
quite thick? Yeah.
your?
And again, like yourself, you're an ultra runner. We're stubborn, so you run through the pain, and eventually I just couldn't bear it, and went to see a doctor in England. And first thing he said was, "We got to cut you open." And for anyone that's listening, I cannot urge you enough to first explore your options. Don't just give in to a doctor saying, "We have to operate." Seb knows as well. I mean, strength training is the absolute key to not only longevity in running, but in life in general. And so I decided after the doctor said that, I said, no. Is there another option that's less invasive? And he said, we can do a high volume injection of saline solution into, or rather in between the sheath within the tendon cavity, I guess. So I said, yeah, let's do that first.
How does that work physiologically? What does it actually do?
So basically what it does is, let me just get my facts straight here. It's a saline solution, which is basically salt water, and it's done under ultrasound guidance. So it's minimally invasive. They don't have to cut you open. The needle's quite big, though. When I saw that needle, I was like, hey.
You were awake.
Yeah, I was awake through the whole process. Yeah. So they first give you a little bit of anesthetic, I guess, and then the needle goes literally into the Achilles, basically.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wasn't that sore?
It felt uncomfortable, but they had given some sort of like
local.
numbing, local anesthetic. So what happened was what it actually felt like was like my Achilles was blowing up like a balloon. Felt like it was just getting thick and heavy, but not too much pain. And I mean, I even drove home afterwards. So yeah. 2 days later, I went to see the physio, and I challenge a lot of what people say with recovery or rehab even, because the science has changed so much over the last few years. I mean, I remember seeing physios, and the only thing they said to me was, you got to do your eccentric calf raises, and did all of this on their recommendation. Then decided, hang on, let me do my own research and dive deeper down into tendinopathy specifically as an injury. And you get various types of tendinopathies, but what I found was that the first stage of rehab is isometrics. you have to get stuck into isometrics for the collagen fibers that have now been disorganized to get rearranged, right? But that has to be done heavily under load. Sure, when your first rehab session, you can do it body weight or something, but I cannot stress enough how much a tendon needs heavy load in order to get repaired, rehabbed, stronger, etc. So, yeah, did my own rehab again. Saw one or two physios when I moved to Spain, and they were great. But I think the secret ingredient was just me really, again, going down the rabbit hole of rehab. And to be honest with you, Seb, I've only really come right about, I'd say, within the last 4 to 6 months.
With the Achilles.
With the Achilles, yeah. Very happy that now for Ultra Trail Cape Town this weekend, there's absolutely nothing there, so I'm healthy. But yeah, back to your question, and I've been rambling a bit here about the physiology.
You're here to ramble.
But the mental side of an injury is, first of all, there's going to be denial. And you have to get over that and separate your emotions and your psychological state from that injury, and understand that, yes, it really sucks what happened, but it's not the end. It's merely your body just saying, listen, I need some time out here, right? And give it that time out. I mean, if you're an athlete and you cover all bases, you can run for a really long time. So respect the body enough, take the time off, and find other things that bring you joy, right? Yes, running is a massive part of my life. I mean, it's part of my business. It's part of, what puts food on my table, but in terms of a coaching perspective. But I started looking for other things that gave me joy and excitement. So, whether that meant spending more time with friends, looking towards my support structures, my family, asking them, to be a shoulder to lean on. My wife, who's been absolutely amazing. I mean, she stuck with me through some of the darkest times I've been through, especially when living in England. And I think it's important to pull on those support structures that you have, because, like I said, it's like going through a breakup. When you get injured, it literally feels heart-wrenching. I mean, you can imagine, let's take you as an example. You're training for a 100-miler. There's a lot of training volume. You're working really hard. Let's say a week before the race, you get injured, right? That's heart-wrenching, right? You've put in all this work. And then you got to find the maturity to kind of zoom out, look at that and be like, okay, it sucks, but it doesn't mean it's over, right? So yeah, I think there's a lot of merit in working with a psychologist as well. I worked with one actually here in Sea Point, Trevor Hall. He's a former Lions rugby player, I think.
Oh, cool.
And he's based here in Sea Point at the Point Center, and he put me on, I think it's called the comeback plan. That helped a lot because it gave me exercises to kind of figure out what the injury meant to me, but also that it wasn't the end and how to deal with it, right? And even if you're an elite athlete versus an amateur weekend warrior, those injuries are just as devastating. It doesn't matter if you're an elite performer or a weekend warrior. You still do put a lot of work in. My sponsors, ASICS, were great. They've stuck with me I've been with them for the better part of 10 years. First a front runner, then an elite on the elite team. They also offered up help. We have access to psychologists should we need them.
Wow.
So
that's a great resource.
Yeah, ASICS are a great team to be with, and they make us feel like we're part of the family. And I mean, the first thing an athlete feels when they get injured is, oh, my sponsors are going to drop me, or I can't race now, so I'm of no value. It's not like that with ASICS at all. They really do support the process. And I mean, a good example is with this Achilles that I've had. I think I was out for almost 16 months. They stuck along for the ride, and now we're back. We like you said, we're racing Ultra Trail Cape Town this weekend. I haven't ran 100K in a long time, so I'm sure it's going to hurt. But it's all about that process of discovery, being in the ultra space. You're almost solving an existential crisis as well while you're doing these things. Over and above performance, right? So yeah, I hope that answers the question to a degree. Yeah.
What would you say the biggest takeaway or the most profound takeaway was spending time in that rehabilitation phase? What is a lesson that you took away from that experience that you feel like you otherwise wouldn't have learned if you hadn't gotten injured?
Two things, actually. Patience, right? And hard work. Running is hard work, training is hard work already, right? But rehab is hard work in a different sense because it's incredibly boring. And I just kept on, reciting a quote that I'd heard prior to all of this happening, and it was, opportunity often comes knocking on the door disguised as a pair of overalls and is called hard
Yes.
work, right? And I just kept on thinking of that, and I was like, just put in the work, no matter how boring it gets, the inches all count, right? So I did that, and patience as well. Like, I'm very impatient, and when I want something done, especially in business, it's like it has to happen now. With running as well, if I get injured, how fast can I fix this? Who do I need to go see? Tell me, any doctor, they need to fix it now. But patience is absolutely key, because if you do rush the rehabilitation process, number one, it doesn't get fixed. Like your tendon or whatever it may be is not going to become as strong as it needs to be. There are phases to the rehab process, just like progressive overload in training. It's exactly the same. You can't go from injured to for the Achilles, for example, to doing isometrics in a Smith machine at 100 kilos. You got to slowly build up to that, and it's frustrating in the beginning because you can only do a isometric body weight calf raise, so boring, but so imperative. And I think my message to those who are injured and who are going through a rehabilitation program is be patient. Do not rush it. Do it properly. Do it progressively as well. I might get crucified for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you get sent home with a piece of paper and a bunch of exercises to do, and you get told, do this every day for the next 3 weeks, that's not rehab, right? You need to be monitored. You need to be told, okay, like in training, what variables are we manipulating? Volume, load, etc., right? Time under tension. All of these things need to be manipulated in order to give you the best possible outcome of fixing whatever the issue is.
So rehab should be periodized the same way, or with the same kind of idea in mind as regular training. Because I
Absolutely.
suppose your desired outcome is to progress from your current state of a limited capacity to your full capacity again, and that has to be a progressive journey, right?
Absolutely, because otherwise also what happens is if you don't do it correctly, re-injury. We have something called the pain inhibition cycle, and it's basically a cyclical process of how re-injury happens, because you'll have the acute trauma, and then you'll get the pain and inflammation, followed by abnormal biomechanics, which causes compensation elsewhere, which then causes
Another injury.
right? So it's cyclical, and rehabilitation therefore needs to be managed in a sense that helps that not happen, right? Which means progressive overload principles in the rehabilitation phase. But also, just because you're rehabbing, say, for example, tendinopathy on the right tendon and calf area, doesn't mean you're not training it everywhere else, right? When you're injured somewhere else in the body's got to pick up that load. So it's super important to monitor that and keep the rest of your body just as much in check as even though your focus may be on the injured area. So yeah, that's and I implement it with the clients that I work with on a rehab scale. Everything is completely progressive. It follows the principles of modern or rather recent research, because the principles or rather methods are changing all the time. There's new research that comes out, and you have to keep up with it. And the fundamentals don't change in terms of you want to fix something that's an overuse injury or a say traumatic injury in terms of acute trauma that needs surgery. You have to lift. You got to lift weights, right? And you got to get in the gym. I see you guys are doing fantastic things, with the Run Strong thing. It is the Run Strong thing, if I'm
Yes.
correct. Yeah.
It's not specifically programmed for an individual, but I think it does provide a strong foundation for runners who otherwise wouldn't have run. It's kind of similar to the stuff I saw you guys used to do at Bunker 11, where it looked like you were doing small groups of run-specific strength training, a lot of unilateral stuff, some plyos, like good, stuff that's going to get a runner nice and robust.
Absolutely. And, it also comes down to, there's a few things when we look at run-specific strength coaching or training that come into play. Number one is, and I think it's great that you guys are doing, you're providing a mechanism of strength training for runners, number one, because most runners don't want to do strength. They hate it. So that's win number one, right? Win number two, you've created a social environment to do it in. Okay, fantastic. People dig going to a run class and being able to chat to people, meet people, doing this the strength sessions together. And I always say as well, even what we did at Bunker 11, it wasn't necessarily tailored to the individual in terms of the class structure, but it was better than nothing, right? I don't know the percentage or number down to a T, but I would say way more than 50% of runners don't do strength training. They just run. And then what happens? Injury. Whenever somebody comes to me with an injury, actually, I say to them, what strength training have you been doing? Most of them say, none. Well, I just run, and yeah, that's actually, I would say, mistake number one. If you do not supplement your running plan with strength, chances are very likely that you're going to get injured as you progress within your running. And we must also remember that for someone who's an amateur or beginner, rather, you will see progress quite quickly.
Yes.
Naturally, you will, right? But you eventually get to a level where it stagnates a little bit, and you need another mechanism to help you improve. So have you been doing your strength training? Maybe include that, right? Although I would obviously advocate to include it right from the start, but it's very rarely will you find a beginner runner that does all of it. So, I'd even go as far as to say, if you had a runner that was a duplicate, and let's say he ran a 3:03 marathon, I would go as far as to say that if even we didn't change your training, but we just add lifts 2 to 3 times a week, you'll run a sub 3.
Interesting.
Right? Yeah.
Fascinating.
Think of the benefits. Running economy is improved, right? Your muscle contractility is improved, everything. So, I'm so confident strength training works even on a neuromuscular level with trail running. I implement something with my athletes, the more advanced athletes. I'll implement something called PAP training, which is post-activation potentiation, which is very much a neural priming effect in the gym. Fantastic to fire the legs up for climbing specifics. Going up Platteklip Gorge, for example, here in Cape Town, is very much a power activity. You power hiking, right? You got to teach the muscles how to fire like that and develop that power efficiently, more so than just raw power, right? But that's really going down a rabbit hole. For your average runner, getting in the gym 2 to 3 times a week, doing, like you said, the unilateral stuff, super important. Running is a one-legged sport; it needs to be trained like that. Just get in the gym, get lifting when you can, lift heavy, more so than just doing high reps. I think that's absolutely key to longevity, but performance as well.
What's the importance of lifting heavy for a runner, a gen pop runner, like run of the mill? Someone does it socially, and maybe they are looking to enter a half marathon or something. So they're not looking to perform at an elite level, but it's something that they love and they do regularly. Why would they benefit from lifting heavy in the gym?
Yeah, sure. So we must remember that the amount of force, doesn't matter if you're an elite or someone that wants to run their first 21, the amount of force going through your tissues and your body when you are running is almost it's a lot. I think I'd be lying if I knew the exact stat, but I think it's like 7 times your body weight going through
Wow.
through your body at any given point. Doesn't matter if you're elite or think about, you're a big guy, you frizz. So every time you're taking a stride, that amount of force going through your body is a hell of a lot. Thankfully, you lift heavy weights. You've hardly been injured. I've been coaching you for a while, and I think we only had one episode when we were training for the marathon, I think it was. I'm
Yes, and
correct.
that was completely like me being silly, doing a pigeon stretch, talking to Jason after heavy squats, and it just went.
Yeah.
It was like a bit of a, it wasn't a running related injury.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So lifting heavy, absolutely key. Doesn't matter, obviously within reason. You're not going to take a couch to 5K athlete and say, right, we're going to make you, or we're going to test your 1 rep max deadlift in the gym and see what you can do. Again, progressive overload is super important. And for a beginner, that might look like body weight work, pendulum lunges, unilateral body weight exercises, progressing to over a course or period of time to with the outcome of eventually wanting to lift heavy weights.
what's a pendulum lunge?
So pendulum lunge is basically, I don't know if I can demonstrate it,
You
but
can show me if you want.
it's basically pendulum.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
same leg, forward, then backwards. You're training proprioception that way as well, force absorption as well as strength. So if you think about the movement in itself,
It's a cool movement.
yeah, and easy to progress as well. To add weights to that, easy. Number of ways. Weight vest, hold some kettlebells, etc. Right?
You love a weight vest.
Love a weight
I want to
vest,
go
yeah.
a bit down that as well because you've
Okay.
utilized it a lot in this prep.
Yes, I have. But yeah, just to get back to your question, lifting is also a skill, right?
Absolutely.
You have to learn how to lift. So, case study, someone's running their first 21 in 3 months, they want to implement strength training. Do I start with heavy barbell deadlifts, back squats? No, obviously,
Technical.
yeah, no ways. You're going to start with simple stuff and then progress, right? And that's why I also recommend, get a good. We all want a good running coach. You also need a good lifting coach because run specific training is highly specific. It's not like the bro split where we're doing, back and bars, chest and tries and a leg day. When you're training for running in the gym, you need to think of proprioception. You need to think of force absorption. You need to think of time and attention. Time and attention. How the muscle is working through a range of motion. So, are we slowing down the eccentric phase? Are we training plyometrics? Speed, power production, all those kinds of things. Now, I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to say, okay, John, who's an amateur athlete and he's trying to run a sub 2 hour marathon, we need him doing, barbell on the back, plyometric jump squats. No, we're not going to do that with John. But, we might have friend of mine, Matthew Healy, who is an elite runner, fantastic athlete, and runs at the front end of the field. Does he need plyometrics in his plan? Absolutely, right? So I think it's also contextual in terms of an athlete's ability and genetics. Genetics play a big role in ability of an athlete, and we need to look at that. And also physiology. For example, you and I are in a rig and we want to do a back squat. I'm going to do 50 kilos. You're going to do 150 kilos, right? So there's all these things you got to think of. And even with coaches, I always say a great coach will be on the floor with a pen and a piece of paper because he'll be monitoring what his client is doing and be able to compare what we did week 1 in mesocycle 2 versus week 3, right? So, and there you can monitor your client's progress. And just from what a client enjoys as well, they love to see a graph. Okay, we create the graphs, but they love to see, hey, I did a 100 kg back squat 3 weeks ago. Today I did 107. I'm getting stronger. This is cool, right? So yeah, but I think everything is contextual, depending on the athlete, and strength training for athletes out of a class setting, in individual setting, sort of one-on-one setting, I think can be so technical and periodized and can really bring out the best in an athlete, no matter if they're running a 2.5 hour half marathon or a 69 minutes.
And what sort of piqued your interest around utilizing the weight vest? You've spoken about it a lot throughout your prep. You've incorporated it for a number of your athletes. Unfortunately, I got sick the 2 weeks I was supposed to do those workouts. But I know that at least the ones that I have, like, I'm in touch with, Greg, Jason, they've been doing the weight vest stuff. What about that? What is the unique benefit of a weight vest when it comes to a run specific program and just general conditioning?
Yeah, so the weight vest became almost like a trend after a coach called Jason. No, sorry, not Jason Coop. It was Tom Evans and Ruth Croft. Their coach implemented a weight vest in their UTMB prep. And I read up about this, and I read, the methods and the reasons behind it, and it made sense to me. Basically, what it does is it helps with muscle endurance. In terms of, you look at an event like UTMB, Ultra Trail Cape Town, especially the miler and the 100K, a lot of the time in those races, you're going to be hiking, right? And you need that stimulus of the weight vest under load when you are doing your hiking specific sessions to help develop that muscle endurance aspect of that constant power hiking motion, etc. When you add the load, obviously the extra load increases time to fatigue. It increases your ability to handle that fatigue at later stages in the race.
For clarity, it increases time to fatigue once removing the weight vest and being on the trail on race day.
Exactly. Yeah. And and also, if you compare, or in my personal experience of using the race vest, how the session would work, for example, is obviously there's a warm up, and I would try and hike with the weight vest, say, to gain 700 meters of gain, come down, and then do a run after I've done the hike as well. So as soon as you take that weight vest off, it feels like you are superhuman because you just don't have this extra load. Now, when we use a pack, which is nowhere near as heavy as a weight vest, again, it's not going to feel as if or as bad as that hiking session did, right? So what's that saying? Sweat more in practice so you bleed less in battle. Yeah. So or train hard so you can race easy. So yeah, the weight vest was interesting. It's difficult though with the weight vest because you don't necessarily notice the gains or the benefits immediately, right? It takes a while, like anything, but there's definitely value in implementing it over a plan long term, especially for the ultra events. For a 20K vomit race where you are sitting redlining, you don't need to train with a weight vest. But in the ultras, when you're deep into an ultra and your body is absolutely knackered and you've trained for this muscle endurance, those things take over, right? I wish I could recite science behind it, but I wouldn't get my facts straight because there has been articles written about it, but for me to remember everything would now, I won't be able to remember it.
But it's exciting and cool to see. It also speaks to your kind of constant renewal of the research, because we've been working together for 3 years. This is a new mechanism for conditioning your athletes, which is very cool. But speaking about race prep and deep into ultras, how are you feeling for this 100K mentally and physically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this 100K might at one stage wasn't going to happen. I was due to race CCC this year in Chamonix. Didn't go to plan at all. I felt quite sick the week of the race, but still wanted to run, and I dosed up on meds, everything. This was in Chamonix.
That's naughty.
Yeah.
Run sick. That's not good.
Not good at all. Don't ever do that. But I woke up on race morning and I didn't feel 100%, but I didn't feel, my symptoms were all above the chest. I just had a little bit of a snotty nose and a little bit of a dry cough, and I thought, okay, let's just start. I've come all this way. I'm surrounded by the world's best athletes, and I started and actually didn't feel bad, to be honest, for the first 30 minutes. And then there's a massive climb out of Courmayeur, which is huge. It gives me nightmares. Like, we got climbs here, like Platteklip and things like that, but I think that the climb out of Courmayeur, which is right at the beginning of the race, is absolutely brutal. Like, it's the toughest climb I've ever done. Anyway, was going up the climb and just realized, nope, the body is not playing along today. And if I keep going on, number one, I risk further damage. And number two, I'm just not going to enjoy it, and I'm going to hate my time out there. So I decided to pull the plug on CCC, which then opened the door to Ultra Trail Cape Town 100. I was coming anyway, and the initial plan was to do the 50K, but because I DNF'd at CCC, I decided, why not do the 100K? Now, my mental approach to this 100K is still very much or rather very much one of discovery. I have only really been training again properly since being injured really badly, where I couldn't really run since I would say January of this year, December last year. So there's that curiosity that sort of sparked in me, like, what if Saturday comes and my body just says, hey, brother, let's go, and I could have the race of my life. There's also the other scenario where my body says, not quite ready for this, but we can do it and see what happens, roll the dice. Or it can go complete other way, and I could just feel terrible again and have a bad race. Now, and that's what I also think is important to realize, is that this is just another random Saturday in the year to most people. But to us, it's like the Saturday. And when I go back to saying about the whole, I'm not defined by my running sort of mindset, is that after this weekend, we'll have a memory for sure. But 3 months down the line, is it going to matter much? Not really, right? So that's why I say, know your why, absolutely, and which is super important. But also, don't attach your identity or your happiness to an outcome of an event. I'm a massive fan of quotes. I'm going to say another quote. They say that the man who enjoys walking will walk further than the man that enjoys the destination. Right?
That's a great one.
Yeah. So you got to learn to love the sport first, more than the outcome of any race. And I think if you can do that, and reshape what you want out of a race, you're going to enjoy it more, but performance will follow as well. They always say a happy runner is a fast runner. Again, it comes down to stress, etc. So yeah, for me, my mental approach is go out there. I don't have expectations. Yes, there's a specific, I would like to do the race in a certain amount of hours, but even if I don't, so be it, I care more about, and it's changed. I never used to be like that. I used to be so focused on outcome, so focused on performance, and everything has changed where now I actually care more about the people I work with. I want to see you crush your 100-miler. I want to see Jason crush his 100-miler. I want to see my athletes running in the 16K really do well. That's going to bring me a whole lot more joy than me finishing my 100K. No one's going to remember my 100K next week. But I, as your coach, 2 years from now, I'm going to remember Seb got the honey badger at UTCT 100-miler in 2025, So I think also one of my mantras is I want people to remember me as their coach, as someone, that cared, because I think, and it's difficult to be like that, because when you have or coach a lot of athletes, it's difficult to give your time to everybody, but it's not very difficult just to, tell them that, they're running. And every Monday I check in with everybody and to let's talk about it. Let's see how you did. So, that's my stance. I'm not fazed about the outcome on Saturday. If I have the race of my life and it's a top 10 finish or a top 20 finish, cool. I'm still going to go watch the Springboks play afterwards and have a beer. But yeah, I think if we focus too much on performance as the sole goal or predictor of happiness, you're not going to be happy. Yeah.
That's I think there is an element of having sort of earned your keep in having that perspective as well, though. You've been in the game for a while. You can have that more stoic view. And it's not to say that younger athletes don't have that, because I've seen plenty, but I think it's not so common, It's when you kind of like a bit more, if you're a greener, it's like the result means a lot more, because whomever it is, to yourself or to someone, you've got something to prove. Whereas I think, in my opinion, I don't really think you have anything to prove, so you can see, is it on today, is it not? The result would feel cool if it went a certain way, but that's not going to define this experience, which I think is a really awesome spot to be in. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how things come together. I don't think I'll clock in for much of it because you'll start and finish whilst I'm still running, because you're going to be relatively quick. And yeah, I'll be going until probably around 11, hopefully. But yeah, it's a special weekend. I think it's amazing that you get to be here as well, back home soil, and it's turned into probably. I mean, it looks to me to be the biggest trail event in the Southern Hemisphere. It's huge, right? I don't know what Tarawera was like in terms of the actual scale of the event, but this UTCT it's the inaugural event of this World Series, which is new, but it's still huge.
Yeah, I think Stu and Sue and Nick Bourneman and all of them who founded the event have done a fantastic job to grow it. I think what they've also really done well is they've really done their best to keep to the essence of what trail running is about. And Cape Town is a special place. I've traveled and I've run all over the globe, and nothing gives me goosebumps like this race does. Yes, I'm a little bit biased because it's home, but I mean, the organization is fantastic. The community around this event is, second to none. It's just super special, like you said. And we must also remember we're running in a place, here's a fact. There's more flower and plant species on Table Mountain than there is in the entire United Kingdom.
Yeah, the Cape Floral Kingdom accounts for it's a stupid amount of the global biodiversity in terms of flora. It's crazy.
Exactly. So we are running in this really rad place where ocean meets city meets mountain. It's incredibly unique. The event itself has become a world play. I mean, I've got a friend who's on the ASICS team and he's running the miler, and I've been trying to convince him to come for a long time. And he said to me the other day we did a run. He said, UTCT is quite famous around the world. Athletes know this race. And you look at the pedigree of athletes we've had race here. We've had Jim Walmsley, we've had Courtney Dewater, we've had Francois Dahain. We've had these names that have won Western States and UTMB all coming to Cape Town to race here.
It's a long trip for them.
It's
not around the corner.
Exactly.
It's the other side of the world.
They've done a fantastic job. It is hands down, right up there in my top 3 races in the world. So if I can, I'll come back every year. I love it. I love being here. I love the people. The people make this event. You look at Tuesday Trails on the week of the event. It's like 200 runners all rocking up from around the world. It's super special. And I remember when the race was still sort of kind of in its infancy, and you would have 20 people at the finish line. Now athletes are running in, you clapping hands. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Where do you go when it gets dark? You've obviously got this brilliant stoic approach of I'm going to feel what I'm going to feel. If it goes this way, it goes this way. But you've obviously built that over time, I'd imagine. And the ultra distances, no matter where it is you're at, you are often going to go down that dark path for a bit in the race. Like you said, the first 10Ks are going to be cool most of the time, but after that, it's going to get tough at some point. Where do you go mentally when navigating that?
I think, over the years and as I've learned about ultra running, and I like to say that I'm always a scholar of the sport. But in terms of that, initially running my first ultras, as I was so performance focused, and I would go to a dark place, I would just do a lot of self-talk.
What does that sound like? Is it negative or positive?
No, maybe a bit of both. You kind of I would say to myself, come on, dude, you've trained for this, shut up legs, you got this. And that alludes to what we were chatting about with the central governor theory, which was actually coined by Tim Noakes, where fatigue is just an emotion and you can override that with, positive thoughts.
He's done a TED talk on that.
Yeah.
He did it, he gave a TED talk on it.
So it's, I used to do that quite a lot. And recently, though, what I found as I've grown and like you said, maybe gotten a bit more stoic and spiritual, etc., is, and this might sound cliche, but I literally talk to God. Um, so I I've I've explored my faith a lot more deeper as of recent, and even in my training, I'd put a sermon on in my ears and listen to teachings, and I'd pray. Um, and I find ever since I've developed a closer relationship with God and the gospel, I am so much more at peace with everything, life, with running. If I'm in the hurt locker while I'm running, you know, I'll say something like, or I'll have a prayer and say, you know what, thank you for being able to feel this, because a lot of people can't. A lot of people can't run, and just give me the strength that I need to finish, right? And there's a lot of um, liberation, if it's the right word, found in doing that, because you're almost handing it over to something bigger than yourself,
Yeah.
right? And I find that helps. And that's why I actually said it to a friend the other day. They were like, well, what do you think about for 12, 13 hours while you're running? And I was like, well, currently it's 12 hours of worship. Like, that's all it is.
I
And
love that.
yeah, and that's what I try to do. And again, it's cliche, but the Bible tells us I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, right? And I recite that, and I'm just like, God's got me. I'm going to get to the finish. How fast I get to the finish is, up to God's will and what shape my legs are in. But there's a lot of freedom in handing it over.
I can imagine. It is totally, like you said, giving the outcome to something greater than you.
Absolutely.
And I love that you have that spiritual element to it. I mean, I'm a very openly unprescribed person. Like, I'm not religious in any sense, but I have great appreciation for scripture and various religions. I mean, I was at a very religious school my whole life, so I've been exposed, and it's something that I appreciate a lot. But what I speak to my team about often, because there are a handful of very religious, specifically Christian people in the team, they've asked me a couple of times, why do you do this stuff, bro? Like 5 hours in the mountains on a Saturday, it's crazy. Like, I said, how you go to church on a Sunday and you have your worship and you come back, and then on Monday stand up, that's the highlight of your weekend. When I go out into the mountains for 5 hours, that's my church. I'm there, I'm present in nature, I think, and I have open, the kind of clear headspace, and there are mantras and thoughts and things that come to you that don't come to you in other areas of life. And it's not distilled into the sort of, I suppose, clear religious packaging, but it is a spiritual outlet for me 100%. And it's totally unique, that blend of physical pain, enduring that, being very intentional with what you're doing for that period of time, and connecting to whatever it is that's compelling you to subject your body to that kind of discomfort. I find that really spiritual, and I think that's why I enjoy ultra distance stuff so much, is because I don't find that in any other thing. Like, I push my body hard strength training, but it's nothing like ultra distance, or like a 4.5 hour hill repeat thing that you put in my program. Like, nothing compares to that. It's very, very special. And there's so much inner dialogue and self-awareness and introspection and thinking time. And it's like, it's funny because, again, like I said, not particularly religious, but the first time I ran a miler with Jason, I was like, I'm going to meet God. It's like, that's what I'm going to do. It's like, I'm going to meet like the maker. You're in nature, you like really go. It's weird. It does feel like an ascension of self, where you're meeting something greater than you. For whatever reason, it has that feeling. And I think it does have a lot to do with nature. Because nature is a divine thing. It's the giver of life. And whatever your sort of scripture that you follow is, or whatever religious avenue you follow, I think nature is core to that. Because if you also look at, like, for instance, the whole parable or story of like the Garden of Eden and the interaction with the snake, that is there's God interacting with mankind through nature. And I think nature is this amazing vessel for spirituality where you get stuff that you cannot get anywhere else. There's a certain feeling, I think, you went to the bush with your family at some point recently.
Yeah.
Nothing feels like the bush.
Nothing.
Why is that? What is that like? What is there that we don't have in, like, I don't know. There's something about being in the wild, being close to animals, it smells a different way, but pairing that with physical difficulty, it releases something that is just indescribable, and it just feels so spiritual, where I think whoever does that, whatever you follow, it's like you're going to get an experience that is
Transcendental.
it's completely transcendental. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. You literally, and I even have goosebumps now.
Yeah.
It's like a crazy thing that I'm like, I need other people to experience this. Like, I almost feel like I'm like trying to convert people to like going and running in the mountains.
But look, I mean, you're 100% right. It is a spiritual experience. I mean, when you're alone for hours, it's just you and your thoughts. You and your inner voice. I mean, here's a question for you. How many business decisions have you made while thinking out on the mountain?
Plenty.
Exactly.
A lot.
Right? It's because it's just you. There's no chaos. There's no, you're at work, the phones are going, or you're sitting in front of the computer. It's you and your thoughts. And a lot of the times, your problems are solved on the trails too. If we look at a lot of ultra runners, heaps of them have been through traumatic experiences in their lives. And they do these things to, I don't want to say solve things, but to process or heal from these things. And they do it on the trails because nature is healing. You're out there, you've got this positive energy. Every step you take on a trail is completely different to the one you just took before. So it's like it's a continued almost rebirthing or new experience every time you're out in the mountain. You train on Table Mountain a lot around Lion's Head. That's I think it's patch track that you run. You can run that every day for a week. Every single day it'll be a different trail. Right? It's never going to be the same, right? The promenade and Sea Point, the same brick from yesterday is still going to be there, right? But you're on that trail. It's new every time you run it. There are different footprints. There's nature. There's different weather. You've got the wind. You're feeling. You're alive, right?
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. If you could put it into a word, it's being alive. And it's in those pursuits of authentic experiences that I think pushes us to fulfill or try and reach our full potential. And it's in those experiences as well that often take us to the wildest places on earth.
Yes.
Which I think is really cool. I've been very fortunate, very blessed to have run, like I said, all over the world and experienced different landscapes and different emotions that come with those different landscapes. And I mean, I'll never forget it. The first time I arrived in Grindelwald in Switzerland to run the Eiger, I looked up at the north face of the Eiger and how big it was and how beautiful. And like you got goosebumps, I'm getting goosebumps now. It's just like, it's that feeling that comes with being in these wild spaces as well. And it is spiritual because you don't get that feeling walking in a shopping mall.
You know what? You know what I think it is as well is that mountains are old and wise in a geological time frame. They are like billions of years old mountains. There's so much wisdom that they have seen so much. And I think if you really want to take like a sort of like not airy-fairy, but very spiritual take on that, I think there is an energy to that where if you look at one of the prominent cultures or peoples in South Africa, there's also people who go into the mountain as part of initiation or into the bush as part of initiation to, there's an ancestral component to that. And what are ancestors that's a spiritual, it's the spirits of people who were here before. And you go into the nature to connect with that. And I think like that north-facing mountain, that grand, massive rock has seen so much stuff. And the magnitude of it is so amazing, I can imagine.
I mean, to go back to scripture, Jesus was sent into the wilderness, right, to test his faith. So I find it quite fitting for us to do these ultras when we are in the wilderness, in these mountains. again, it doesn't have to be religion, but you're testing something.
It's a pilgrimage of some
Yeah.
kind.
And you're finding out really what you're made of and who you are. Because again, it's away from the chaos. You're just with your thoughts. And I always like to say ultra running is a so great metaphor for life, because if you can go run 100 miles, what the hell is stopping you from building a business, from having a successful marriage? The only thing stopping you is yourself, right? So I think in that perspective, it's a great metaphor. And you will often find that people that take on these grand challenges are super strong psychologically, super resilient, where they perhaps never were before, right? And I think that's super special about ultra running, is that it teaches you things you didn't know about yourself, right? And I mean, we've all had some. I can speak from personal experience. I've had some tough experiences in life, and when I'm on the trails, and as I've done these ultra events and 100-kilometer races or whatever, I always say to myself, always look back, and I actually have a list on my phone of all the races I've done. I'm like, dude, you've done some crazy stuff. Like, why are you afraid of this worldly problem?
Where did you learn how to do that? That's a proper Goggins move, because he does a similar thing, but he has it on his mirror in his bathroom. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, remind you, like, who are you? What have you done? You know, you've done a lot.
Yeah, you're badass, you know? And yeah, I think there's, if you can remind yourself actually that you've done these hard things and carry that over into your everyday life, there is no ceiling, right? The humans are capable of insane things. And we've seen the endurance boom happen now. Since COVID, endurance and running in particular, and participation in running it's skyrocketed, right? I don't think COVID was necessarily the catalyst. I personally think it's people trying to escape the overload of information they're receiving on a daily basis in terms of stimulation from social media, or everyone's working remotely now. So you're kind of in front of a screen all day as well. So everyone is searching for that escape. And the most simple way to do that is to put on some shoes and just go out the door and run, right? I think that's one aspect. And now, just to go back to what we were initially talking about, away from the stoic stuff and spiritual stuff, you own a gym, we are coaches, we have strength training mechanisms. Everyone started running, but they're not doing strength training. So just to go back to that, like, get into the gym. You have to lift if you are a runner. And yeah, I think as the endurance boom has been happening, we've also seen a lot more musculoskeletal injuries happen. I've had a lot of people come to me with injuries. So yeah, I think it's only going to keep growing. I mean, how many run crews are there in Cape Town now?
Yes, there are a lot.
Right. Yeah.
I think, I mean, even to add on your point from a different angle, aside from the just musculoskeletal robustness related to putting yourself under some heavy load and that helping the running, it's also adding another tool to your toolkit. If you do pick up an injury, it means that you're not totally out of the game. You've got something else to explore when you're hurt, because I think that's a big part of what can make an injury challenging, is you feel very restricted. And of course, there is something that's kind of off the table for a while. But if you've got another avenue, if you haven't been totally one-dimensional, you can fill that gap with some strength training, you know, or something else that's going to give you the feeling of progress or being active or whatever it may be.
Absolutely agree. And you know, and if the gym can initially be intimidating with some, and if I can also leave a message on your platform with this podcast, is that, you know, it's only intimidating if you let it be. There are people out there like Horizon Gym and yourself who invite people in and will guide you along the way if you ask. I can get that the gym was intimidating previously, because we would always be fed, you know, these big muscle-bound people that only look absolutely fantastic, but it's actually quite an inclusive space, you know. So yeah, if you can get into the gym, please do. And like you said, your skill set as well also develops. Now, we can talk about history in that sense. Hunter-gathering age, right? Humans, we naturally endurance beings. In the hunter-gathering age, and people needed food, so they would chase down an animal for days until it got tired, and then they would kill the animal so that they could eat. So naturally, we are endurance mammals. They used to pick things up. So if they had to build their own homes, they were moving all the time, right? So there's also if I compare that to today's day and age, if we can almost go back to our roots, if you want to call it that, and implement movement and lifting, you live longer, you're more capable of living a full life, you're more capable of living an exciting life. You know, nobody wants to be a parent that isn't able to kick a ball with their kid or, be able to do something rad outside. So to me, that's enough motivation. You want to do cool things with the people that you love. But I think, running will always be running, but there will come a day where you can't run anymore, whether it's age or whatever. But if you lift, you prolong that. And always remember, even when running stops, you're still going to have to lift things in order to live life, right? So the science is there, the research has been done, and I think, lifting in itself, not only for the longevity aspect, but to live a full life is super important. And they say one day your body will become a priority, whether it's by choice or by disease.
Yes.
So you need to make a choice. You can take care of your body now, which eat healthy, lift heavy things, run, walk, cycle, whatever. You're going to live longer. You're going to be more capable of living a healthier, happier life. And ultimately, maybe the biggest motivator as well is you want to avoid death as long as possible, right? So being sedentary, you're not serving, you're not serving yourself at all. And yeah, we also run for adventure, right? And to me, living an adventurous life is completely, it's a mechanism to bring joy. I don't want to say happiness because a lot of the time we look at happiness as a destination.
Sure.
I think it's important to have joy in life, right? So yeah, in other words, lift some weights.
Lift weights. Strength is freedom.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it gives you the ability to explore and fully enjoy life. And I love how you preach that to your following as well. I know you've got the 12-week programs on the go. If people want to find that or find you, where do they go?
So it's on my Instagram. There's a link in my bio with all the information with the 12-week program. What I've done with that is I've tried to make it as accessible as possible. It is specifically for runners, but more so it's for a runner that wants to start strength training, right? And it kind of breaks down the barriers to entry, even though I believe there aren't many. It's really not hard. If you're in Cape Town as well, I've been watching what you've been doing. And if you're a runner that wants to get involved with strength, then I'm sure Seb will say as well, just come down and chat to the guys and join. You're going to run better. You're not going to get injured. You can, like we've been chatting, you're going to be capable of more. And it is absolutely imperative. And if anybody else says otherwise, they're welcome to contact me and I'll explain everything. But if you want to find the 12-week program, you can find it at the link in my bio on Instagram. There's a website there, yeah.
And what's your handle for people who want to find you?
It's Brendan_Lombard. Hopefully there's some useful information on there. I'm still very much what would you call it? A grandpa with social media.
No, you're good, bro. I think you're pretty on it.
Yeah.
You post frequently. The content looks good.
Yeah.
You're comfortable talking to the camera. Like 99% of people can't do that. So
which took a long time. Yeah?
It's great. It's so engaging.
Yeah. Like sometimes I used to film myself and I was like, dude, you sound horrible. Like, what the hell? And then, it's almost, I had to, for lack of a better word, develop enough courage or bravery to put that out there because, you're going to get criticized anyway. So, and I had to say to myself, who cares? Like, just do it. You're going to get better at it the more you do it, right? It's like reps in the gym.
100%.
So I'm trying. I think what I've done on social media has also changed a lot. Initially as an athlete, it was very much self-promotion. It was like, look what I'm doing. Running these cool races, like follow me. Now it's more like, how can I help you?
It's more serving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which I think is important with social media. Like it's everyone has a platform, and if you can offer something of value instead of feeding your ego, you're on the right track.
That's
Right.
very true.
So that and I'm the first to admit it. I've made many mistakes in the beginning. I was all about I just need to see how many followers I got, and I wanted to. I don't want to be famous. I wouldn't say that, but I wanted to be like this well-known elite runner. And as I've grown up, I've just been like, dude, no one
not that
actually
important.
cares. Like, you just rather give something of value to people. And I always say, again, no one's going to remember any races I've won, but what people will remember is how I made them feel. And I think that's super important.
Coach Brent, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
No, thank
It's
you.
race week. I know there's a lot on the go, so I'm wishing you all the best. And maybe I'll see you at some point out on the course. If not, hopefully we can grab a something on your way out. But this was a great catch up. So thanks for your wisdom and your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I really, really enjoy this. I love what you guys are doing here. I think it's fantastic. And yeah, hopefully we can continue helping people and inspiring people.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Cheers.
Shot, boy. That was awesome. Yeah, that was.
Thank you so much for listening to the show, guys. We love answering specific questions. So if there's anything you want to know, leave a comment or reach out to us directly at HorizonZA on Instagram, or email us at movement@horizongym.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Seb Prentice, and this is Beyond Physical.